Fairview's coffee has mysteriously gone missing. Mayhem ensues when strange, coffee-craving zombies plague the city. Detective Mickey Potatoes, an overworked public servant, uncovers why ordinary citizens are losing their minds and lips. But it involves the mafia. And when you're dealing with mafia crime families, nothing is ever easy. The mafia controls everything in the city, including the police, including him. If he breaks the mafia, they will break him. So, the city is without coffee. The city is burning before his very eyes, but he's powerless. Detective Potatoes has the power to stop the coffee apocalypse, but if he does, he could lose everything.
This is my place, okay? I have in here who in the fuck I want.
Money comes big. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not small. No, no, no.
Kiss my entire...
Oh, my darling, not 3 times on the ceiling if you want me.
Your coffee, sir.
Thanks, beautiful.
You're welcome.
This is a man's world.
So just sit right down, relax, open your ears real wide and say, give it to me straight, doctor, I can take it.
Give it to me straight, doctor, I can take it.
Kick the chocks out from under the wheels. Flats up. No offense, Margaret. Contact. We're off. Rum, rum.
Doctor, doctor, give me the news. I got a bad case of loving you.
Oh, what heights will hit. On with the show. This is it.
There is indeed in, baby. What's going on? Coffee good, but not hot. I didn't have time to go run and refresh a cup before we went live. That's my bad. We have got a big show today. If my guests show up, they may be too afraid to show up for fear of losing so terribly. Started, they said, the 80s versus the 90s. How did you want to be a proponent of the 90s being the best for all things pop culture and not expect to get gorilla stomped? I mean, come on.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Gordon Shumway, nice to meet you. Interested in a new Buick?
Nonsense. I've not yet begun to defile myself.
I'll make you famous.
80s forever.
80s forever, baby. What's going on, Tanner?
Oh, nothing much. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing good. She showed up. Shh. Our first victim showed up. Hey, I've got people asking for the link, and I will be dropping the link out after we get done winning this brief onslaught of a battle. But I'm gonna bring out as soon as I can find the appropriate intro here. Oh, here we go. We'll use this one.
Thanks. 80's forever. Thank you.
Thanks for coming back. Hey, Brett, how are you?
A little disclaimer. I have an extremely biased opinion, and I am going to be immature about this.
Oh,
good. That then you're fit right in.
Okay, good. Hey, I'm trying to find you. Okay, there we are. Because I like to be on. I like to have YouTube open too, because there's like this thing when I come on to shows where everybody just yells at me at the same time, and then I can't say anything, so I go to YouTube and write comment instead.
So we will definitely look. We will be talking over you. We will be mocking you. We will be laughing at you. It's just the way these things work because I'm from the 80s.
Yeah, I know.
Carrie, I did not show any such thing because Tanner and I just got together moments before the show started, and we were doing show prep. So I will do so. Britta, look, I'm glad you came out to get your ass kicked publicly. I appreciate it. What? The 90s destroyed the cocaine 80s with pop culture. I don't even know what you're talking about, Max. But before we get to the debate, we've got some things to do. Now, because this is going to be a lighthearted show today, I'm not going to bring it down with one of my rants about current events. It's enough to know that where we all agree, both 90s and 80s people, is that the 21st century sucks.
Yeah. We went to hell in a handbasket, and then the handbasket fell apart.
I see. I have come to believe that the Y2K conspiracy people were right.
Mm-hmm.
The world ended in 2000, and now the Catholics were right. We're all in purgatory.
Yeah, there's some truth to that.
It feels about right, yeah.
Hey, Tard, what's going on, buddy? Yeah, listen, things have just gone south, but you know, the one thing that brings us together is we can at least appreciate the technology that allows us to get together and laugh at the other side. So with that, it's time for a little segment we like to call da 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 da. Yeah, baby. We're gonna start with this one because this goes all the way back to this early 70s or late 60s. You know, here we go. Sesame Street did not prepare me for any of this shit. Fuck you, Burke.
Seriously, for real.
Of course, now even Sesame Street has gone woke. So again, fuck you, Big Bird. I did try starting a day without coffee once, and the court date is in fact pending. Just saw a trigger warning before, and this is true. Contains tobacco depictions. It also contains a woman trying to make a coat out of puppies, but sure, smoking. Let's warn people about that. And this, by the way, is outside of my studio. So just so you know. We are always, absolutely. Thank you, Tarks, for backing. I think I have your mug here ready to go out the door. As soon as the show's over, I'm headed to the post office. So yeah, I'm always open unless I'm closed. How do you argue with that kind of logic? When you get pregnant by they, them. And of course, it is that time of the year. I'm going to bed, but it's only 4:30. Sorry, what? Can't hear you.
I saw that yesterday. Good one.
A big old bucket of gray suck is the wintertime. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All you people, I can't wait for sweaters and boots and pumpkin spice latte. Shut up. Cold. The air hurts your face. All right, Stephen B. Read on, brother. Read on. The optimist says things happen for a reason. The pessimist says things are random and meaningless. Me, things? What things? Nobody told me about anything.
That's how I feel most of the time.
The Lord is a thing.
Of course, all scientists agree when you censor the ones who don't. By the way, that's true of any topic that you try to discuss that does not go with the message on social media. How dare you think for yourself? Speaking of which, I don't need you anymore. I'm woke now. So I'm not going to play the thing again. This has been another exciting episode of Meme Review. Carrie, don't ask me not to sing. It makes me want to sing that much more. You can't do that. So yeah,
I don't understand how you can advocate for the 90s and then yet have a giant cutout of Michael Keaton as Batman.
Oh, that's because the 90s takes Keaton Batman.
No,
the sequel
not
came
at
out
all.
in the 90s, and it
Not
came
at all.
out 89,
Script was
first debut.
Script-
And I was born in 89, and The Simpsons and Seinfeld also debuted in 89 and are considered 90s shows. Therefore,
only by 90s
Oh,
advocates,
90s
not by the real world. Sorry,
it's called 1989 for a reason. It's the 80s still, late 80s, but still the 80s.
The 90s suck so bad they're trying to borrow a year from the 80s. No,
we took it. I'm actually giving points. I'm the one who's keeping score, so I'm taking that point.
You're wrong. So you're wrong.
It
This
doesn't
wrong.
matter.
And I warn
Clearly
you,
has a point.
you're on my show, so this is how this works.
Right on the
bitch.
Oh my goodness. But before we jump into the debate, we still have another segment to do here. And I gave Tanner some homework.
He did.
So here we go.
Yeah.
What the hell?
We're aware. This is what Carrie said. This is why the aliens won't visit us. All right, Tanner.
Okay. Greetings, salutations. I'm Tanner Hurley with another great moments in comic history. Now, like Doc said, he gave me a hell of a homework assignment. So, following last week's show, I quickly ran to the internet to figure out what I could find of artist extraordinaire Steve Epting.
Yes.
Unfortunately, there wasn't a large body of work that I could find, nor could I find it in my own collection. But Steve started his career with First Comics, doing backup stories for many of the titles on there, to include Dreadstar and The Badger. Also done by Mike Barron, who
our friend Mike Barron.
Our friend Mike Barron. But from there, he moved on to Marvel Comics, where he drew for the Avengers. Once again, doing backup stories before becoming the lead penciler on that for about 10 issues. Redesigning the Vision, Circe, and Crystal as well, which I recently found out before the show started. So Doc, kudos to that. I didn't realize he was the reason for that one. He did work for DC before moving on to CrossGen Comics, where he did 25 issues of The Crux and 6 issues of El Cazador. And if you have not seen these books, go find these books. I have them somewhere in my, like I said, somewhere in my collection. They are out there. But you know, Pops has some art.
We have some of the Avengers run, and of course, these are all the chrome ones, but we also have one in here that's the right. Oh, come on, where'd it go? Oh, that's the one that fell. No.
Uh-oh.
Too many books in hand. Books
there's some noteworthy.
Okay. There's one of the covers.
Noteworthy that Steve Epting is the one who got rid of the Pillsbury Doughboy vision and brought back the green, gold, and red. He made Cersei's idiotic costume look cool. The guy could draw.
Look at that big old splash page y'all can enjoy. That's what dude does.
Oh, look at the backgrounds are just as good as the foreground and the characters. You know, that's one of the things that can be said for Steve Epting is the man can draw. I mean,
absolutely. I took the liberty of downloading a page just to show you the man's skill. Here we go. I mean, there's nothing digital happening here, boys and girls. This is raw talent.
Mm-hmm.
And an underappreciated, undervalued, underrated guy who I want to come draw my next comic book, even though I'm an artist. So, Steve Epting, nothing but love for you. The Avengers run was, I think, what did we say, 25 issues?
Somewhere between 10 and 25.
Yeah, and he did. He also did Captain America and Black Widow. Some of the best you'll ever see. Give the guy a look up.
You will not be disappointed.
Right, exactly right. What's up, John Diller? Good to see you. All right, now we're gonna jump right into the debate that Britt showed up to lose. The issue was pop culture, the 80s versus the 90s. I contend, because it's obvious, that the 80s were the greatest decade for pop culture ever. I will extend that to say 80s were the greatest decade, period, ever. I lived through 80s and 90s. I have a perspective. Poor Britt was only born in 89, so she didn't really get to experience the 80s.
My parents were pretty much stuck in the 80s, much as you are. Much as you are, sir.
There's a reason we do that.
I would like to center my argument on women being hotter in the 90s than they were in the 80s.
You don't say.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for playing.
Leah Thompson, Howard the Duck, hands down. Absolutely beautiful.
So Michelle Pfeiffer was the 90s. Her Catwoman was in the 90s.
That's true. But she got her, she succeeded in the 80s.
So let me just ask you, it's a little bit of a test. All right. And think about Sandy from Grease for a second. Do you think by the end of the movie she glowed up or downgraded? And my phone is ringing, so answer that for a second. Hang on, where's mute?
Wait, you're referring to the movie Grease that was made in the 80s? Both were wonderful because they were made in the 80s.
But it was based on 50s.
But made in the 80s.
No, I'm asking. Okay, so you know Sandy.
Yes.
The bitch from the movie.
I know
Okay.
what you're referring to.
All right. Do you think by the end of the movie that she upgraded or that she downgraded? Like, do you think she had a glow up by the end of the movie, or do you think she was more attractive at the beginning of the movie?
I liked her at the beginning of the movie more.
You did? Okay, good. That's good.
See, I don't, because I think, biker chicks are hot, and she was dressing like a biker chick, and it was cool. And still, it was based on 50s. The way they were dressing in both scenarios were based on the 50s. So it doesn't say anything about the 80s or the 90s.
No, I'm not trying to make this about the 80s or the 90s. My point that I'm trying to make is that if you thought she glowed up by the end of the movie, then your MK Ultra programming is in control of your temporal lobes. Because she was actually like biologically sexually attractive more so in the beginning of the movie.
Okay, than
at the end.
I'm making is the whole fucking thing was made in the 80s using 80s aesthetics, 80s art direction. It's the 80s.
Well, I know that that's the only like
it's just the reality. I'm sorry.
No. That's the only like baseline of feminine women and attractiveness that I know you understand, because I know that so that's why I had to go with Grease.
John, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. So sit there in your West Coast wrongness and be wrong. And then when we move on to other pop culture, first of all, I had to edit that video to exclude about 300 other hotties from the 80s because we would still be watching it right now. But moving on now, Britt previously conceded movies to the 80s.
Yeah.
And it goes without saying. We had Indiana Jones, we had Back to the Future, we had all the John Hughes flicks. Indisputable heavyweight champion of the world is the 80s. All right. I contend we also had TV shows.
Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name.
If you've ever wondered whatever became of me, I'm living on the air in Cincinnati, WKRP.
Knight Rider.
Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could feel so free. Flying away on a wing and a prayer. Who could it be?
Used to watch the shit out of every single one of those.
Darn right.
2 out of 10 ain't bad.
That watching that just makes me think Ford.
You're wrong.
TV was
B.
so much better.
As judge advocate, I'm giving this point to Brittany because that was just
Okay, so you're wrong, and just sit back there and be wrong.
Airwolf, A-Team, hell yeah.
Get the hell out of here. The 80s absolutely dominated.
See, it wasn't a winning strategy.
With Guyver.
So the Dallas was included because it was the most watched TV show ever.
That's not saying much, though. If those shows are
Except,
what we have to choose
wait,
from.
it's not saying much, except that it's the most watched TV show ever.
Who shot Jerry? Who cares?
Who killed RJ or JR, whatever the fuck his name was?
Who cares?
I didn't care, but it was the most watched show ever.
That's just because you saw it on the cover of the Inquirer every time you went to the store and check
You're
out.
wrong, and I'm sorry that you're wrong, but you are wrong, so embrace it. I couldn't include everything, Max. You know, to make the list of all the incredible TV shows, we would still be watching intros.
Cheers and Cincinnati and that one you played at the end. Those are good shows. Those 3 are good. Okay, the rest of Miami Vice, all that stuff was.
That's your opinion, and you're wrong.
Compared to the 90s, though, not good. All those shows make me feel like I'm sitting on a Greyhound bus that's not going anywhere that I want to go. That's the feeling that I get. It's worse than waiting in a doctor's office.
I'm sorry that we didn't have the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. We just had, everything else.
80s sci-fi was pretty amazing, though. I mean,
True that.
You had V, you had Buck Rogers, you had...
What Buck Rogers
79? He didn't use all the right shows, man.
Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, it's the rock.
The shows that started in the 70s, which is why I didn't include them.
If the parodies of the show are better than the actual show, then the show was not that great. No, they are. They are the parodies of those shows.
No, your qualifier was if, and they're not. Hail, Shadowhawk.
We had better cartoons.
Yeah, we did.
Now, cartoons, I'm going to give that to the 70s. Because the 70s kicked everybody's ass. Are you kidding me? Thundar, the Barbarians, Thundar the Barbarian, the Herculoids. Come on.
Better.
Just because it was part of your childhood doesn't mean it was better overall.
Certainly it does.
No, because you said objective. You lied. You lied to me.
No,
I
believe what I said.
But
I believe what I said was, I'm going to talk over you. I'm going to be right, and you're wrong.
You said you were going to take an objective view.
The 90s had the X-Men, though. And that was
awesome.
Look, the X-Men were popular.
And Batman.
The X-Men were popular.
Bruce Timm,
but I'm sorry, the animation and the illustration in that cartoon were terrible.
In which one?
At the X-Men cartoon. It was substandard. It was not
You
good.
think
compared to
Herculoids was better than that?
However, Batman the animated series and following was amazing, but of course it was based on 89 Batman, so how could it not be?
But it was still a 90s show. It's still a 90s show.
Yes, I conceded that.
Okay.
That one show.
The 90s also.
No, Adventures of Superman was awesome.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the 90s also had Buffy.
Yeah, we had Buffy.
Yeah.
Buffy was okay.
Good. Buffy was good. I don't care what anyone says. Buffy was good.
Buffy was cool for its time. I'll say that. Because in the 90s, there was way more like the CGI into cartoons and shows was being implemented. And
all the cartoons of the 90s were commercials for a product.
No, that was
not
the
all
80s.
of them. No, not all of them. But
It started in the 80s, but it absolutely found its stride in the 90s. Look, any of the G.I. Joe, Transformers, He-Man, all of that shit is garbage. No use for any of it.
I'm gonna tell Ron you said that.
I don't care.
He's gonna eat you for breakfast.
But that was the 80s.
Ron is very pro.
That was the 80s and the 90s.
But mainly it was the 80s. The 80s spearheaded product placement and
my
television.
My son was this huge fan of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which is the worst offender of all of it. The worst. I mean,
my brother was a big Power Rangers fan. So was Matt.
Yeah.
I was on the receiving end of Power Rangers fans because I was a sister growing up in that age.
Right.
But
I had to go with my son.
It was cool.
I had to go with my son. What year was it? It was not long ago that they did the movie, the Power Rangers movie.
Oh yeah, a few years back.
Yeah, and my son, who
was trash.
Hey Brianna, yeah, he made me go watch this thing with him, and it was literally like, at the end of my life, as I'm dying, I'm going to scream for those 2 hours back.
Yeah, I didn't make it through much of that movie. I could tell right away that I wasn't gonna like it, and I don't waste more than just a couple minutes. Like if I'm trying to watch a show or like Cheers or any of the shows that Ron loved from the 80s, because his programming told him to love it. He didn't actually love it. He's just being told to love it. If I'm not engaged in like 10 minutes, I'll just go find something else to do. Because if it's bad, it's bad. And my tastes are impeccable. I have impeccable taste in music.
Well, I mean, Matt would disagree with you about that. Pick him.
Nah, I don't think so. He's pro 90s.
No, you missed the point of that one, but okay. We'll let that one go. Additionally, I'm going to bring this one up, and it's almost unnecessary to say, but the 80s had the music. Period. It is within, I'm sorry. And most of these albums were released within 1 year of each other. Holy shit.
I gave points to the 80s for music. I'm a huge Metallica fan, huge Def Leppard fan. No era writes ballads like the 80s did. They're like, I mean, there's always like love songs and stuff, but 80s fucking crushed music, and they can have it. And I do have a place in my heart for the Backstreet Boys, because that's what team I'm on.
Oh, no.
But I'm not. If I've only got time for one song and it's from Ride the Lightning or Millennium by Backstreet Boys, I'm going to go Ride the Lightning. So they definitely get music.
We are debating, Brianna, over not is the 80s better than the 90s, but how much better. John Dillon, of course, being an infant, is wrong and has a completely bad point of view. Yeah, the 80s had so much music that if you look on YouTube right now, for example, and you look up biggest hits of the 70s, biggest hits of the 90s, biggest hits of the 80s, look at how many returns you get for each decade. That'll tell
you guys just had stronger programming. That's all.
Stronger programming.
Yeah. Didn't you say Did you say, oh, we had Reagan? We had Reagan.
We absolutely had Reagan, the man that won the Cold War. The man that won the Cold War. Hello.
Also, he's also the reason why they were able to do product placement as bad as they did.
Always money in America. So, you know, by every objective measure, the 80s was a better decade.
Just because you say objective doesn't mean you're looking at it.
By every objective measure. Now, the comic books both got better and worse in the 90s.
Yeah.
Some of the best art ever came out of the 90s, but also comics in the 90s shot itself right in the dick. The special market.
Dillard's trying to get put in time out, man. Look at that. Look at that last comment, Doc. He's trying to get put in time out. I can't believe.
Oh, really? I know he's saying that ironically because, like Bruce Willis, if you want to see me cry, play some rap. Not music, just rap. Because music requires musicians.
I don't mind some rap. I don't mind some
One
rap.
more time.
I'm not closed-minded.
One more time.
Some of it's
music
good,
requires musicians.
Just
rap
like
is to
requires an artist.
Music requires musicians as art requires artists. Rap is to music what AI is to art. I will sample what other people did and talk over it.
Well,
and call it music.
No. If you understand like the hip hop scene, and especially the early hip hop scene, a lot of it was created themselves. You know.
I know all the words to Ice Ice Baby.
Okay.
Sampled over what?
Well, that was
it sampled over what?
What?
Exactly. So you don't even know.
No, I don't know. What
I can't think of the name of the
song.
Under Pressure. Under Pressure, yeah.
The other big one early on was what? Run DMC, Walk This Way with Aerosmith.
Oh, they did the duo with Earls.
Yeah, they did, and it was actually pretty good. I liked
that was pretty sweet.
I did like
Did
that.
you like the Fat Boys because they rapped?
No.
No? Oh, okay.
No. I'm sorry,
yeah,
John.
we definitely gave music to the 80s.
John, I'll hand you a jar of Gerber's peach food here shortly for you to enjoy with your infantile take.
Christopher! No!
Because you are wrong. You are wrong. No, now new things. Here's what I do like. Here's what I do like about modern times. Until Disney bought Marvel, I had waited my whole life to see the Marvel characters in a decent movie. Because if you remember the previous attempts, those Captain America movies from the 80s and 90s,
Dolph Lundgren's Punisher.
Yeah, they were just absolute garbage. And then when Iron Man came, now the test bed that Marvel quietly did was Blade. It came out before Iron Man. And they were like, let's see if we can actually do a decent movie, but let's don't make it a big deal that it's Marvel. So they slid Blade in there, and everybody went, whoa, holy shit, we can actually do a good movie. So then we had all those wonderful Marvel movies. I finally got to see, good God, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America on the big screen and not sucking. Hey, Charles, what's up, buddy? Yes, I agree.
I do feel like we have yet to see a really good X-Men movie, though. Don't get me wrong. Okay, I'm talking like X-Men, like the X-Men. I want to see an X-Men movie. I'm looking forward to Deadpool 3 because Hugh Jackman in a traditional Wolverine costume just, makes my heart sing. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah.
I used to have such a mega crush on Hugh Jackman, and I actually loved the X-Men movies when they first came out because I was pretty young, went to the theater on my own.
I like the Wolverine movies. Don't get me wrong. Okay.
And the other thing to move us along here was, again, I waited my whole life to see a proper adaptation of The Lord of the Rings. And we finally got that in the 21st century. So those are the things I will give to this hellscape that is the 21st century. All right. But if anyone...
I fell asleep during Lord of the Rings, actually.
You know the one I fell asleep in that I'm embarrassed to say? I fell asleep opening night on The Matrix. I was working so hard back in those days. I had a full-time job, a part-time job, and I was back in college. I could not stay awake to save my life, and I was so mad. So wanted to see that movie.
I pulled the 24-hour shift right before The Matrix 2. Which one was that? Reloaded or something like that?
That's the first one I saw, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I fell asleep during that one, too.
Yeah, but I was younger than you back then, John. So, John is just fundamentally wrong on all levels.
Oh man, to this day, the only Hobbit movie in my definition is Ralph Bakshi's The Hobbit. I'm telling you.
I'm not going to touch that. And the Rankin Bass Hobbit, I loved it. It was the first one I saw, and I will give it this. Smaug's scene in the original Rankin Bass cartoon was fucking amazing. Well, thief, I can smell you. I can feel your air. And then you have nice manners for a thief and a liar. That was good stuff. It was good. So good. Look, I sort of agree with this. Patrick Stewart as Xavier was good. Ian McKellen as Magneto was great. I did like, what's the young guy that played Xavier in the later ones?
James McAvoy.
Yeah.
He's good. I got to give it.
He is good. He's a good actor.
Did they get good actors? Yes. But for me, it didn't feel like my X-Men.
I agree.
I
always liked Michael Fassbender, and I didn't like the soft...
First class, though. First class, when he's down in Argentina hunting Nazis, what a great opening scene that was. Holy cow, that was good stuff. And then that whole 60s aesthetic that they were picking up on.
Mm-hmm.
That was well done. But of course it fucks up the timeline, for now here in 2023. What are you going to do? Those guys would be in their 80s out there.
I don't know. I think there were enough wow moments in the movie to get Ron and I to buy them so we could have them in the collection. But I thought the original X-Men movies were better. The original to me.
I don't know what
original 21st century X-Men movies.
So the Bryan Singer stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked them. I watched them. It was entertaining. Like everyone else, I wanted to see them in their costumes.
Oh, I forgot to say hi to Phantasmagorical. Hi.
Hi, Fanta.
Hey, Fanta.
She's the coolest. I'm not leaving, but she's so cool.
Fanta is the coolest of the cool, no doubt about it.
Yes, Gambit is an easy one, and they keep fucking it up every time.
Somebody explain the appeal of Gambit to me as a character.
He's got charisma. He oozes charisma.
Where would you have seen this charisma, Tanner?
So I think what happened with Gambit and so many other characters and things, they're the creators of these, like the cartoons when they first came out, they're trying to peg every kind of personality that might be in the audience instead of focusing on like three most personality types that you would see the most of. And instead they just try to cover all these bases, and then what you get is like 10 half-assed characters.
Well, no, I mean, it was in the comic too. They wrote him with the accent, That's,
I
mean, if it weren't for comics, I wouldn't have known what accents were. I had to figure out how to read them and stuff like that. It was great.
Yeah, I did have to
Claremont and Fabian Nicieza.
There were words that the writers of comics in the 70s were using that made you get out a dictionary and broaden your mind to understand. Now, I will confess, when I was young and Hulk was going to smash puny humans, I read punny humans. And when I said that out loud, my dad, who was a educator, had to educate me. When Colossus called people tavarish, comrade, in Russian, I didn't know what that word was. I had to go look that shit up, you know. And yes, the greatest line from a movie that was never recorded, why did you even bother to come back here? That was my line from a movie. And when I got my wake-up call to be on set that morning, I woke up with bronchitis and pharyngitis and couldn't even talk. So I never had my Hollywood debut.
It wasn't meant to be.
No, I was meant to be here. I was meant to be here doing this shit instead.
Yelling at millennials. That's your real calling.
Making millennials feel bad about themselves. That's my whole calling in life. And
I guess you would be a millennial, right? Okay. I know they just well, no, I was talking to Britt.
I think that I'm on the year divide between boomers and what is it, Gen X that came after boomers. Okay. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think so. I don't know, because my parents are like old.
Are you Gen Z, Gen X, millennial? What are you?
I'm a millennial.
Bless your heart. So it is you. In fact, Britt, it is you and your generation that gave us the woke.
I think we live in a simulation. So I don't
there might be some truth to that.
At least since the 21st century. Y2K was true. It happened. It happened. The world
and we've been living in the Matrix ever since.
Yeah. We know it was us.
I'm not taking any accountability for the rest of my generation at all.
That is the most intelligent thing I've heard since I started this show.
Thanks, buddy. But anyways, what I was trying to say is like,
yells at a cloud himself.
Yes, that's Grandpa Simpson.
Yes.
I love that. That's the license picture. Man yelled at a cloud.
Now, since we have thoroughly debunked the 90s,
you didn't though.
I will only say this: the 90s had some good stuff. Some of the movies, Jurassic Park, still stands up today. Special effects and story, all of it.
Yeah.
Everything they did with it after is a big old bucket of suck. But that first Jurassic Park, I was in the theater, Britt, and there were moms and there were the little kids coming to see the dinosaur movie.
Oh, no.
And the first time one of them dinos munched out on somebody, moms are running out with screaming children.
Yeah.
I'm laughing my ass off.
Well, yeah, we've all suffered significant amounts of trauma. Significant. So many of us have just flat out broken brains.
You guys know we do the horror movie club with Brian, right?
Yeah, I've been meaning to come
My thing with horror is, to me, it's funny. I watch it for the laughs.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of people get freaked out. It's like I go in knowing it's going to be freaky, and I'm looking for funny shit to laugh about. Right. That's the way we did it when I was a kid. We would go to the movies and watch the people. Yeah. And just crack jokes and just be like just little rotten kids, right?
But let's clarify.
Let's clarify. It's always funny.
There's a difference between, and it took a while for this to gel out in pop culture. There's a difference between a real horror movie and slasher movies. Slasher movies are all about how gross you can be with just killing people.
The tension and the jump scare.
A horror movie. I would say, for example, that in the first Friday the 13th, when the kid's laying on the bunk and he gets stabbed through his own chest and he looks down, and that's horrifying. All right. The slasher stuff later, not so much.
Slasher movies didn't do it for me.
Moment where she goes, then how did I get his hat? And she pulls his hat out from under the covers. That was new and refreshingly funny and scary at the same time. But I contend, for me, the scariest scene in any movie ever, in a horror movie, was Salem's Lot, the window scene with a little boy floating outside the window, knocking on the door. That's freaking horrifying.
I'm gonna say that the original Last House on the Left, the Vengeance family, when dude watered down the floor and laid the wires, flat electrocuted that dude, that was some evil shit. But it wasn't scary. It's like you knew it was coming. You know what I mean? It's like,
I mean, Kevin did that in Home Alone. Come on.
Jump scare. A horror movie was actually make you fucking whoa, right? It doesn't do that in a horror movie.
A good horror movie should capture your imagination, pull you
Rocky
into the story,
too, by the way.
and scare you to death. Rocky, what's up, Rocky?
Right?
Oh, that's my buddy. That's my buddy.
You weren't around in the 90s or the 80s. You don't have a call, dude.
Yeah.
So I definitely think scary movies got better in the 90s, and there are a lot of and I'm going to talk about.
You want to go outside?
Rocky said you're wrong.
Laurie.
He continues to say you're wrong.
There was, hang on, I'm trying to think of what this gentleman's name is. He's a really nice guy. I just met him. Hang on, where is he?
I agree with that. Home Alone is a true horror movie.
Ryan and Laurie were talking about scary movies and horror movies and like cult classics and stuff. And so with the exception of some cult classics, I think the scary movie genre got way better in the 90s than it was in the 80s. Like we took what you guys came up with in the 80s, which a lot of it was pretty good, and expanded on it.
What do you mean we?
Trauma and being scared.
Because I'll give you the point. I'll give you the point. But it was the guys, the Wes Craven and John Carpenter. All they did was get better with age and made better movies in the 90s.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, movies like The Fling didn't even get the credit they deserved until 10 years later.
Well, I mean, let's face it. Horror movies in general don't get the blockbuster accolades. It's
not the good ones. The good ones are good.
It's a niche. Yes. John Carpenter's The Thing is a great example. The scariest movie I ever saw was Jaws. Okay, because I lived on an island.
Yeah, we were talking about Jaws yesterday with
and I'm going to tell you, when the girl is treading water and she goes and gets pulled under and pops back up, I didn't go in the water for a month.
Doc, did you want to open this up? Did you want to let some people in here?
Yeah, sure. Let some wrong people come in here. Wrong.
The last, Billy, you and me both, man. The last I gave
you we're going to open this up. If we don't know you, though, we ain't letting you in. Just saying.
The last thing I wanted to say about that is because I love ghost movies and paranormal movies and shit.
So Ghostbusters.
That was just starting to tiptoe out of the closet in the 90s. And then we got like The Conjuring and the the whole demonic,
the lost footage
stuff. Yeah.
Blair Witch, whatever. And I'll grant you,
everyone was scared of the Blair Witch when it came out. I saw it 3 times with friends, not because I wanted to. Lord knows, I walked out of the first film and everyone's like, "It was terrifying. Oh my God!" And we live in the woods, It was like middle America, Michigan, mid Michigan.
You gotta slow your roll, pops. Don't be throwing folks in here.
I just want everyone to remember.
I'm 56 years old.
Damn!
I'm sorry.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
There is no spoon.
Pinky, are you pondering what I'm pondering?
I think so, Brain. But isn't that why they invented tube socks?
Well, Doc can't
yeah,
remember
the
what-
scariest
Doc
thing
can't
about
remember
the
what he
Blair
said
Witch
an hour
Damn.
ago. Doc can't remember what he said an hour ago. He said, we're going to hurry this show along because we got a lot to cover, and they didn't even take the time to play intros.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you miss the part where it's my fucking show?
Did you miss the part where you
Doc.
told us what was going to be?
Hello, Stephen B. Welcome. Welcome, Max.
What's up?
Good to see you guys. Hey, Stephen.
Stephen B, I agree, man. Clown World, I'm down.
Stephen B is has no dog in this fight. He is a child of the 21st century.
Clown World.
See, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. So
I was born in 94, so I got some words.
You were 6 years old at the turn of the century. Get out of here.
You're allowed to be here, Stephen.
I was allowed to be here, but you know.
I was a younger kid in the 80s, and I was a teenager in the 20s and the 90s. And I can tell you that the 80s had good stuff, but I had a hell of a lot more fun in the 90s.
Woo.
You were older, Max. Of course you had more fun.
Exactly. So it's not objective. It is subjective to what age you are when you enter into the teenager / adulthood.
This is true. However, comma.
Hello, some person.
It is simply objectively true that the 80s were better than the 90s. Yes, Britt.
Say something. Okay.
Yes.
The 80s had Aquanet White.
You just gotta jump there and say
they had neon. They had leg warmers.
Britt, I'm trying, Britt. I'm trying.
Okay, so everybody always who's pro 80s in this debate, they jump in my face and say we had arcades and bowling alleys and
arcades were fucking awesome.
Well, sure, okay, yeah, but
And
kids
then
were
there
by
were
and
arcades and
large,
bowling alleys.
Let her finish.
kids were just by and large unsupervised, allowed to do whatever the fuck they wanted.
Yeah.
That okay, that's not. There's fun and safety, guys. Come on.
The Darwinian consequence.
Did you really just say that, Britt?
Yeah, because I have kids, and just because you're allowed to go off and do whatever you want in places where there's just literal creepers waiting there for you to come in unattended.
I have kids
and it's
too, and
full
that's
of
good for them.
cigarette smoke,
That is
which I
good
smoke.
for them. It will teach them a lesson. You know?
Well,
What?
you see,
Yeah.
What kind of fucking lesson do they need to learn?
the unsupervised 80s,
parents, aren't you?
the unsupervised 80s led to the latchkey kids 90s.
Well, I actually, so my childhood is like super dark and really sad, and I just want to throw that in there because even in that situation where I know what it's like to have grown up in the 80s, I can say the 90s were better. I wasn't, but I was
do not
raised
know
like
what it
everybody
was to
else
grow up
knew.
in the 80s,
Yes,
Britt.
I do. Even though I wasn't in the 80s, we didn't have the money that you could buy all the awesome fucking toys that were in the 90s. We weren't allowed to do anything except we had to stay outside all the time. And it was basically survival mode. And
Yes, but your generation wears helmets. Okay. Our
that's a good
generation,
thing. That's
our
a-
generation
that's a
had
fight for
jarts.
us.
Our generation had lawn darts. Our generation
No
had
warning
ramps made out of
language.
cinder blocks and plywood, jumping over each other without helmets.
I saw a meme. It said lawn darts. It said a meme. It said lawn darts. Throw them, collect the wounded, count the live children, and keep going until one is left.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, no warning labels, man. That was the whole point. It weeded out the people
Yes.
who were not
It
meant
didn't
to
though.
survive.
No, it didn't. They're all
We
grown
thinned the
up.
herd. We
They're
thinned
all
the herd.
grown
Listen,
up
the
and
kids.
softened people now.
We
They
didn't have
just
warning
broke their
labels. We're
age.
fine. It's the generation below us that lost their fucking mind.
The let's wear helmets and elbow pads to fucking jump rope. Get out of here with that.
Who do you know who's doing that?
Your generation.
No.
Have you ever seen the playground equipment that
We fell out of trees. We did all kinds of shit.
Yeah, the jungle gym that was like just bars that went up like 3 stories.
Yeah, we don't have that no
The
more.
90s still had all of that. We had all of it. We had the newer stuff that wasn't as fun, but maybe less injuries. You know,
You guys had plastic slides. You don't know what it is to sit on a metal slide and burn your ass sliding down that thing in the dead of
that's
summer.
not a better thing. That's not a
Been it.
point.
In there.
We raised
Fire
tougher
hat. It
kids.
was a teaching experience.
We raised tougher kids because of it. Now, they always show this one, and it kills me. I just saw it the other day. They show the merry-go-round on the playground that's closed in the center. No, hell no, that wasn't the dangerous one. The one that was open in the middle, and the big kids would get in the middle and get that thing going to 600 miles an hour and throw your ass off. That was some serious playground.
Yeah, seriously bad.
But
Because
they should have had that in Final Destination.
Yes, they should have.
Yeah.
They should have. What's up,
Final
kid?
Destination, another movie from the 90s that is fantastic.
The kids play football. They got one of those merry-go-round things, and adults all just stand there watching, waiting for kids to get flung, dude.
Yes.
Final
swing
Destination.
sets- The
Another
swing
good
sets
movie
we
from
grew
the
up with
90s.
were these big metal A-frames with a 50-foot long chain on it. You could get into orbit with one of those, and then we would jump out.
Big kids, those are mentally slow adults.
And then you go home and tell your mom you broke your ankle and she'd beat you with a wooden spoon.
Yeah, and then take you to the
That's
hospital.
about right.
And that's
The
bad.
hospital? You got taken to the hospital? Wow, lucky.
No. No.
Yep, I got taken to the hospital when I broke my bones. I broke my fingers climbing a fence. I got my fingers stuck in the chain link fence and fell back and broke my fingers.
So thank you, Billy Power Max, real quick, for saying I was that kid hanging out behind the liquor store. I was that kid who was raised by the TV. So it was safer and more comfortable for me than I think maybe for you. And I'm not saying I'm better. I'm just saying that the 90s were better because we were allowed to hang out in the living room and watch TV as a whole. Not
We were banished
You know, some people who were
from
but I'm-
sunrise to
Yes.
sunset.
Look out.
Don't you
Yes,
come
yes,
back in this
yes.
house. I don't care where you go, but when the street lights come on,
Your
your
ass
ass better be in the
Even
door.
even in the 90s, I was banished from the house.
Yeah.
No.
We had
And listen, let me tell you
when
something.
the
Let me tell you
first
something.
came on. Yes.
They're wrong about the speed of light being the fastest, because when that street light would start to come on,
Oh shit.
children could break the speed of light. They're gonna get in that damn door before that light comes
And
all the way up.
you had neighbors that would tell on you. You're like,
And
you
beat
didn't
your ass,
talk,
too.
but goddamn.
Yeah, the neighbors would kick your ass too.
Yes.
Like, I remember I was with my buddies and I think I was probably 8 or 9 years old, and something happened and I said, God, this is fucking stupid. And my friend who lived down the street, his neighbor was just outside at the time and just snatched my ass up and just beat my ass 3 or 4 times. And he's like, we don't say those kind of words.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
And
Absolutely.
I told my mom, and she was like, well, good for him.
Let me tell you this too. I'm going to give you an anecdote here. Actually, I'm going to provide 2, proving that my mother was an evil genius. in the 70s raising us. You know, 4 ungrateful little snot-nosed kids. My mother was exhausted. She comes out and she says, kids, I need you to go outside and stay in the backyard because the electrical panel is smoking. The house may catch on fire. My mom needed a nap. Uninterrupted. So we're standing out in the backyard crying our eyes out because mom's not coming out and the house is going to burn down. Like an hour later, my grandfather rolls up in the yard and we're, and he comes, what's the matter? The house is burning down and mom's inside. And he's like, what? He runs in there. No, she was in there taking a nap. But that wasn't her greatest claim to fame. There's this one. And I'll never forget it. It was 1973. Somebody in the house, while we were horsing around, broke a lamp. Broke a lamp. And nobody would admit to it. Now, when somebody did something wrong, there were 4 of us. Nobody would ever admit it. All right. So they would always line us up like prisoners of war and interrogate us to figure out who had done it. But nobody was going to own this one because Mama was mad. So she said, fine. Get in the car. So we all got in the car, and Mom drives to a convenience store, and she comes out with 2 packs of Reese's. You know, there's a cup in each, so there's 4. There's 4 of us. Each of us gets one, and we think Mama's lost her mind. She forgot about the lamp. She goes, "Was that candy good?" "Yes, it was, Mama." She goes, "Good, because it was poison. If you tell a lie, you'll die." My lamp. Now. I know it wasn't me because a few minutes later somebody had owned up to it, but I'm still squalling, and because my brain works. She said, "Why are you crying if so-and-so admitted to breaking the lamp?" "Because you might ask me something later and I'll lie and then I'll die."
Sketchbook, I'll give you that because I grew up in the inner city, so in the 90s. So you described it to the T.
Well, I'm going to point out we had moved up.
You can't say that the 80s or the 90s had more serial killers than the 80s because the 80s was the serial killer decade.
That's true.
I'm just going to point out in the late 70s, early 80s, in Atlanta, you had the missing and murdered children. That's when the thing started. You know, it's 8 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? Coming on the TV. You know, because kids were just dropping like flies, man.
The neighborhood I lived in the 70s burned down in 2020.
The whole neighborhood burnt down?
You know what I'm talking about. Lake Street, Minneapolis. You know what I'm talking about, George.
Now,
it all began.
You know, you had the Hillside Strangler, you had Ted Bundy, you had I mean, what year was the Cannibal Boy? What was his name?
Dahmer.
Dahmer.
That was
he started in the 80s.
Yeah,
he didn't get caught until the 90s.
Yeah.
And there was the
America
Stalker.
is dangerous. Period.
Oh, yeah.
Changed my mind.
I mean, there was the Night Stalker. There was the Green River Killer. There was the
Son of Sam. There was a whole bunch of fun shit going on.
Well, Son of Sam was in the 70s.
Where the fuck is Lucifer when we need him? You know?
Yeah. Look, where you at, buddy?
Lucifer Storm.
Yeah.
It was.
So here we are talking serial killers.
Point to the 80s. The 80s had better serial killers than the 90s.
Now, point to the 80s. Now, I'll say this, though. The most frightening time to be alive was not the 70s, 80s, or 90s. It's now. Because now, if you state something that is objectively true, you can get canceled from society. Period. If you point out that there might be a difference between males and females, you uneducated Philistine, how dare you? You know, this is the scariest time to be alive when censorship is hailed as a virtue.
Yeah.
Are you shitting me right now? Do you really think the guys who stormed the beaches at Normandy thought, boy, I can't wait for later generations to come along and be so soft that words hurt them?
I think he was talking about John Hinckley Jr., who was in love with Jodie Foster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the guy that shot Reagan.
Shot Reagan, yeah.
And by the way, once again,
That loony.
Reagan proving he was the greatest president of all time. After he had been shot, after he recovered, he's given a speech. A gun backfires. It sounds like a gunshot. He doesn't even blink. He says, "Missed me."
No, you want to talk about badass presidents? You got to go all the way back to Teddy Roosevelt, who got shot in the, fucking chest, and then gave a speech.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Then he went to the fucking doctor.
I speak softly, but I'm carrying a big stick. That's him.
Every politician's an actor. Every single one.
If you, Brianna, I love you, but if you're relating what we're talking about to Harry Potter, you kind of missed the point. It's a effed up world we're living in, but I think all of us here, we're just doing the best we can.
Bill Gates, that other guy, that little wormy guy, Fauci. Those are the serial killers of today, guys.
Yeah, I know, but
that guy.
The Bush family's influence on the Reagan era wasn't any of the previous. It was that Iran Contra garbage. That had Bush all over it. However, the greatest threat humanity has ever faced, that the current generation knows nothing about. You never had to duck under a desk for a nuclear attack.
Yeah, I was going to say the missile crisis.
The Soviet Union had a 100,000 nuclear warheads pointed at the West.
Allegedly.
Still do.
Reagan ended that threat, period. So he gets the Oman Pani Mani Mu.
That's what you were told.
No, that's what I lived through, experienced, and know.
Duck and cover.
That's what they made you
do. It's
you
coming back. A modern day Cold War is happening.
Yeah, fortunately,
I get on the news.
Overestimated his abilities. When a little podunk country like Ukraine is kicking your ass, you're nowhere near as tough as you.
Yeah, there was. It really. That was one of the things I thought a lot of when Russia invaded the Ukraine. I was like, all this is doing is making the Russian military look bad.
Terrible.
Guys, we changed the civil defense warnings for active shooter warnings.
Yep.
Well, no, I get online and the first thing I see, when I'm looking at my news feed, is the nuclear map thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's happening all over again. History's just repeating itself.
As history does, but this time we're facing a very watered down Russia. They're nothing like the old Soviet Union.
Russia they don't have missiles in Cuba.
This is the thing that everyone in the Ukraine thing has missed. When the Soviet Union broke up, it was Bill Clinton that signed a mutual defense pact with Ukraine that said, if you give up those nuclear missiles that are on your turf back to the Russians, then we will guarantee your sovereignty should Russia ever invade. I'm not saying we should, but I'm saying that was the agreement we made. And that if we did honor it and our military rolled into Ukraine, Russia would never be a threat again, ever.
Yeah, probably not. I don't think the Spetsnaz isn't as high speed as they made him out to be. Let's put it that way. These dudes they couldn't even run their fucking tanks with gas for long enough to fucking operate in the fucking AO.
I mean, if you think about a modern cavalry regiment, like the 24th Mech or the 10th or the 11th, rolling through Ukraine, that's what they were built for.
11 ACR is just a training unit.
Well, yeah, but they're still pretty damn good.
No, we beat them every time.
All right, Brett. Maybe you did, but back when they were first cranking up, Fort Irwin was where you went to get your ass beat and learn something.
Well, Fort Irwin that's just NTC.
That's just NTC. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
You still go there to, quote unquote, learn. But,
yeah,
9 times out of 10, it's like kids on a playground. Yeah, I beat you. No, I beat you.
Well, I mean, we did this thing where we were at NTC and we were testing the new, the little laser tag thing.
The Miles gear.
Yeah, the Miles gear.
Yeah, the Miles gear. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to test Miles 2. Raytheon was putting out, and it was actually really cool because at the end of it all, you could see like a time lapse of the GPS positions of everybody and what they were doing. And man, I came up on Op 4 and I snuck around. I flanked them to the left. I was the 240 gunner. I flanked them to the left and came up behind them and just just gunned every single one of their platoon down in one fucking go. And I got a fucking AM for that one. It was Impact Award.
Brittany bailed on us because she doesn't want to talk politics. That's all right though, man, because that was part of it. The 80s versus the 90s. Reagan versus Clinton.
I mean,
we win that one too.
Clinton had the
Clinton didn't have to. Fuck, Clinton, dumbest motherfucker ever been president.
Well, Clinton had the .com bursted that popped during Clinton's time. So it built up during his time too, but it popped during his time.
Yeah, what I was going to say was though, point is taken, as a cultural reference, okay, but the specifics of politics, let's don't do that. That's not what we're all about here. We were about the fact that the 80s kicked the shit out of the 90s, and that's all that really matters. Like right now, if I had access to that DeLorean time machine, I would go back to New Year's Eve, 1979, and I would live through the 80s again. And New Year's Eve, 1989, I'd get in that motherfucker and go right back again.
I don't know. The 90s were cool for me because that was when I was growing up and I was old enough to go to the bars. I mean, because like in the 90s, like everyone's talking about TV shows and movies and all this stuff, and I'm like, man, in the 90s, I was doing drugs, having sex, going to clubs, playing in bands. I mean, that's making movies. I was making movies, not watching movies.
Well, yes, every person when they come of age has a good time. Like the 30s were the best years of my life. I loved my 30s, but I would still go back to the 80s. Just saying. It was just a good time to be alive. It was scary as shit.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I could get with any of the girls because of the Aquanet white and the hair.
That's no lie. They all smelled like Aquanet.
Listen, my wife says never underestimate the power of Maybelline. All right. If you ran into a hood chick from the 80s that had the mascara thick on there, don't fuck with her. She'll cut you. But yeah, it was a great time to be alive. The one thing we did come to common ground on was the 21st century sucks. The 20th was better. Changed my mind.
Yep.
I mean, the cool thing about the 90s too was like rock and roll had kind of won the rock versus rap battle because I mean,
always
like,
will.
if you look at like all the advertising, it was all super fast paced and edgy in the 90s. Sega Genesis, I mean, they were known for their edgy commercials.
I think I was too busy in the night to watch TV, to be honest with you. I was busy.
No, I didn't watch TV either, but I mean, I've seen these commercials post the 90s, and they were all super fast cuts real speedy editing with crazy fucking rock music going on behind it and everything like that.
Everything was extreme.
Yeah, it was all extreme. Like that Simpsons episode
Doc.
where they're trying to make the cool dog or whatever, and they made that real lame dog.
I forget which show it was on, but it was one of the late night shows. It might have been David Letterman. I forget what, but they were having this same argument about, is rap music? Is it this? Is it? And someone was talking about, it takes talent to do that. You can't do it. And so they brought out an auctioneer
who started rapping.
Who could talk faster than all of them put together in coherent sentences that if you slowed it down, you could hear. And that brought about that guy. Remember the speed talking guy that was on the FedEx commercials?
The Micro Machines guy.
Yeah. It's like, okay, but is it music? No. We'll put a beat to it. Oh, that makes it music. No, it's not. It's not music. Sorry. Music requires musicians. All right. When you listen to Randy Rhoads, Eddie Van Halen, Steve Vai, Nuno Betancourt, Jimi Hendrix, whoever, that's somebody that's talented and put a lot of fucking work into what they're doing. And you want to tell some guy that stands up in front of a microphone and mumbles over a electronic beat is a musician on par with that? No, not even close.
They could be composers, but they're not musicians, because they're composing the beat, they're composing the sounds, they're performing it in their way, but
they're editors. They're editors.
Yeah, I mean, it's all just repetitive stuff that's been clipped from other things. Like,
and it can be fun, and it can be funny. It can be entertaining, but don't come at me with music. No, it ain't.
Someone was talking about Ice Ice Baby earlier today, and I mean, it starts out with the Queen riff.
Yeah, and Under Pressure.
Yep.
Yeah, it can be entertainment, but don't come at me and call it music. It's not music. All right, it's something that uses music.
It's like AI art.
Exactly the point I made earlier. Did somebody say "Have mercy"?
The 90s is also the heyday of the Braves.
That I'll give you. Best time to be an Atlanta Braves fan, the 90s.
Yeah, my brother was a big Braves fan.
I was going to Braves games in Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, which was about the size of a Dixie cup. And I was a fan when they punished people by giving them Braves tickets. All right. Like if you went to court on a traffic violation, they would say, you're guilty. Here's a Braves ticket. No. Now, I did get to see during that time, I got to see Hank Aaron play. I got to see him hit a home run. I didn't get to see the home run, but and that was cool. And then we kind of had a good team in the 80s. Rick Camp, Gene Garber ended Pete Rose's record-breaking streak, and we won the National League West. Why Atlanta was in the West, I don't know, but we were. But we were always disappointed. We were like Minnesota fans today. And then when the 90s happened, it was like, thank you, God. Thank you. I must have done something right.
we can win. We can actually win a pennant. Oh, my God. Look at all these pennants.
Won the National League like 9 years in a row, got one World Series out of it that we won. So yeah, that was a good decade. I enjoyed the 90s for baseball. I still remember Q. My son was an infant, my youngest son, when Sid Bream came galumphing around third base to win the National League pennant. I'm jumping up and down, rubbing his head for luck. Run, you fat fucker, run.
You really said that?
I don't even know who that is. and I'm sure it can be fun, but you know, anytime someone tells you that they're a rap musician, hand them a guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Here, play this. You're a musician.
Well, I mean, people like Trey Reznor, they're not great guitarists, but they put together, they compose.
They can play a guitar. They can play a piano. They can compose music.
Yeah, I mean, he can play the piano.
Trent can play the hell out of the piano.
Yeah, he definitely can.
Yeah.
I mean,
you know, music is more than beat. It's melody. It's composition. It's way more than that. But that's a debate for a different time, and I'll gladly take on anybody. Whoosh. Rap ain't music. Come at me. You can call it art, but it ain't music. Where's my Bruce Willis clip? I want to hear you scream. Play some rap music.
Kanye, motherfucker.
With that.
Hold on, Doc. Hold on. So how's the Damn Dirty Thing coming? We haven't talked about that since you started the show.
Going great.
Update for that.
Let me. There's a purpose to this. Here, let me embiggenate. So the Green Mile, I never knew was first released in serial form in novellas. Okay. This is the size of what the novel will be for Damn Dirty Thing.
Yep.
I am currently exactly this far on the novel.
That far in.
I'm that far along on the right.
Oh, you're in the middle of it.
Yeah, and the comic book.
Do you feel like you're in the middle of it, or do you feel like you're going to actually have to extend it out and maybe make it a full novel?
No, actually, for a minute there, I had to get Tanner's help because I ran into a wall. And I was like, how am I going to get 100 pages of material out of a 16-page comic book? But Tanner and I brainstormed for a little while, and then it was, I got to be careful. I may have too much material here. So, yeah, we're at a great point in the story. I'm writing every day because Mike Barron said if you're a writer, you write every day, and Mike Barron is always right. The comic book part is on page 12 of 16. I've got plenty of time to do the last 4 pages. The debate now is, do I want to take it to 20 pages and not rush things? So, because there's always got to be multiples of 4 for the print.
Yeah, I know.
And Tanner and Max, Tanner was the one that told me Heroes and Villains is probably who I'm going to use for the comic book, for the printing. I like everything about those guys.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about publishing a novel, the actual printing of it and publishing it. So I gladly dumped that in Anthony's lap and said, you figure it out. Now, have you read that yet, Stephen?
There's a book.
I'm halfway through.
Okay. All right. And are you enjoying it?
I am.
All right. Fantastic.
Yeah, I read it. I read the digital a long time ago when you had me check it out. Have you gotten to the head squish yet?
The head squish?
Okay, you just wait.
You just wait.
I enjoyed it. The Pariah story really gets rolling in book 2. It's kind of the Empire Strikes Back of my trilogy.
Nice.
Yeah.
We get to see, this story. I'm sorry, I got distracted. Yes, hell yes, hell yes.
Chipper Jones, yeah.
I told Eric he's a good writer.
So
it's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie.
In Blood and Mud, we get
Red Item. I was entertained. I don't know what everybody's problem is.
We get to see Elizabeth's
just wants the gotcha moment.
Kind of origin, her downfall and rise. In book 2, we get to see revenge on a scale that's horrifying to behold. You fucked around and you hurt a witch. Yeah. And you thought you were safe because you thought she was dead. No. She ain't
dead. Nope. Coming back to say hello. Yeah, we
Brianna, you can find me over on Facebook.
We're running a very, very risky thing here in our new Mary Machine Gun series. We're working on book number 1 of Mary Machine Gun Dark America, right?
Okay.
Because it's about the character Dark America, but it's a Mary Machine Gun book. The first book, Mary Machine Gun, not in it. She's at the very end. She's a contact on Dark America's phone that Dark America calls.
Nice.
That's the end. So Mary Machine Gun's not even in the book. It's all just Dark America, like, and how her having to, her figuring out that she's in way over her head and she needs help. So she calls Mary.
I actually like stuff like that. And I'm kind of at that point, Max, and I know you got to live in this zone because of how many titles you're doing, but I'm stoked for A Damn Dirty Thing far more than Pariah Blood and Mud. But the closer I'm getting to the end of A Damn Dirty Thing, now I'm stoked for Pariah Sanctum of Hate.
Yeah, it's always whatever you're working on.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I've already got the trailer made for Sanctum of Hate. I made the damn thing and it gives me chills when I watch it.
That's good. You know that it's good if it gives you that goose flasher. You know, you'd be like your hair stands up on the back of your neck or something like that when you're hitting a certain part of it. You're like, yeah, it just gives you those goosebumps and that.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, when I end the stream, don't leave, Max. I'll let you see I call it when I build a video, I build the frame first. It's just the music, and graphics, and then later I load in the images because I want to wait until I have all of them.
Yeah.
So I'll show you the frame for the Pariah Sanctum of Hate trailer. I think you'll like it. So everybody stick around. I'll give you a preview. I'm not going to do it live because that's a spoiler. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
All right, so we're going to wrap this thing up. Pops, are you there?
Well, where the hell else am I going to be?
In the bathroom. So you want to tell people where they can find you and tell them who you are?
They know where I'm at.
All right.
I'm Tanner Hurley, founder of Apothic Press. You can find me at apothicpress.com. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook.
Right.
Oh, shit. I'm Max Devill. You can find me at atrocitypress.com. It's got all of our social media links. It's got all of our news a week before it hits social media. So make sure you hit the website. It's also got our shop with all of our T-shirts and our books and everything that's available on the website. You can buy them digitally or you can buy them physically through the site now. Right now we're running Human Hunters number 4 on Kickstarter. We're at 100 backers and 44.15. Nice. So we're funded and we're churning through those stretch goals. So let's get these trading cards unlocked that everyone seems to love.
Yeah, man.
So we'll get that done. But
titles include?
Titles include Mary Machine Gun, Human Hunters, Ninja Bimbos versus Zombies from Deep Space, Love and Madness, Lady Blasphemy. And then we've got another one coming out called Native next year. That's one Johnny's means writing. So,
all right. Ooh, look at that. That's a nice card, brother.
Yeah, that looks good.
Very nice.
So I'm Stephen B, and I'm the founder and owner of boldcatstudios, where we do cool shit like this.
Yep. And Stephen B's titles include Crypts and Legends
and Rev,
and currently working on with our buddy Billy Powermax.
Last Days of the Bad Moon.
Last Days of the Bad Moon. All right. And where can people find you, Stephen B?
You can find me here on The Madness, and you can find me on my own channel at boldcatstudios. I don't know, /YouTube.
All right. Hey, big guy, where can people find you?
Hey,
You can always find me here in the Madness Comic Network on YouTube and Roku.
Hey, I've been your host, Doc Blalock. I'm the writer and artist behind A Damn Dirty Thing in the Pariah Trilogy. I'm the host of the coffee shop here every Wednesday at 1 p.m. And once during the week, we do a free refill. So be sure you follow, click like, and do the little whatever it is you do down there for YouTube. And we'll see you guys later. Pops, play us out of here. And don't leave, guys. The sketchbook, we'll see you, buddy.